Hello, and welcome to Live Parkinson's, Live an Exceptional Life. I'm your host, Chris Custenbotter, and I've been living an exceptional life with Parkinson's for the past 14 years. The mission of this podcast is to help as many people as possible living with Parkinson's to lead a great quality of life. Today's topic is Overcoming Parkinson's, a Christmas message of hope and joy. Now, I understand that everybody doesn't celebrate Christmas, and I'm certainly inclusive of all religions and all people. I'm hoping that you'll be able to take this message and use it for the message that it provides, even if you don't necessarily believe in Christmas. But I wanted to share, especially this time of year, as we enter a new year and during the Christmas holiday, a lot of people, especially those living with Parkinson's, can become lonely and isolated. And so I wanted to share two stories of Christmas joy and hope that may help you understand and live your best life with Parkinson's and participate and enjoy and look forward to the new year. Here's our first story of living your best life with Parkinson's. It's called A Christmas Miracle, From Isolation to Joyful Living. It was a snowy Christmas Eve in the small town of Evergreen Pines. The streets were decorated with twinkling lights, and the air buzzed with holiday cheer. But inside a modest house on Maple Street, John Harper sat alone by a dimly lit Christmas tree. At age 62, John had been living with Parkinson's for nearly a decade. Once an outgoing teacher and community volunteer, the progression of his symptoms had slowly pulled him away from the life he loved. John's tremors made him self-conscious in public, and the stiffness in his limbs had turned simple tasks into exhausting battles. Friends and neighbors had stopped inviting him to gatherings, assuming he wouldn't be up for it. Even his children, busy with their own families, only called occasionally. Depression had crept in, and John now spent most of his days in silence, wondering if life would ever hold joy again. That evening, as the snow gently blanketed the town, John decided to take a walk. His first walk in weeks. He bundled up in his old wool coat and scarf and stepped into the frosty night. His gait was uneven, and every step felt labored. But he needed to escape the suffocating loneliness of this house. As he shuffled down the street, he passed by the town square where a group of carolers sang beside a glowing Christmas tree. He paused, watching from a distance, when a cheerful voice called out, "Merry Christmas." Startled, John turned to see a woman about his age standing beside him. She held a steaming tray of hot cocoa. "Would you like some?" she asked, her warm smile breaking through the chill of the night. Hesitant, John nodded. "Thank you," he murmured, taking the cup with his trembling hands. "I'm Evelyn," the woman said. "I noticed you watching the carolers. Beautiful, aren't they?" John nodded again, unsure of what to say. Evelyn didn't seem to mind his silence. Instead, she introduced herself further, explaining she was a retired nurse and now volunteered with the local Parkinson's support group. At the mention of Parkinson's, John looked up. "I have Parkinson's," he said. Evelyn's smile grew softer. "So do I," she said, holding up her hand to reveal a slight tremor. "And so do half the people in that group. It's what brought us together." For the first time in months, John felt seen. As they sipped their cocoa, Evelyn shared her story. How she had once felt just as isolated as John, but had found new purpose through helping others. "We meet every week," she said. "Sometimes we exercise. Sometimes we just talk. It's a place where no one judges and everyone understands." John hesitated. He had always resisted joining support groups, fearing they would only remind him of what he'd lost. But something about Evelyn's enthusiasm stirred a small spark within him. "Maybe I'll come by," he said, his voice uncertain but hopeful. Evelyn beamed. "You'd be welcome any time." A year of transformation. That small encounter changed everything. John began attending the group, where he met others who shared his struggles and triumphs. Slowly, he rediscovered his love for teaching, offering to lead a weekly session on writing and storytelling for the group. He also became involved in a local initiative to raise awareness about Parkinson's. His once hidden tremors became a badge of courage, a reminder that his life still had value and purpose. By the following Christmas, John stood in the same town square, but this time he wasn't alone. He stood beside Evelyn in the Parkinson support group, leading the carolers with newfound confidence. His heart, once weighed down by despair, now overflowed with gratitude and joy. In his holiday message to the group, John said, "A year ago I thought my life was over, but through connection and purpose, I've learned that even with Parkinson's we can thrive. This Christmas, I'm grateful for the chance to live and help others live their best lives." The snow fell softly as the group sang together, their voices rising in the night. For John, it was more than a Christmas miracle. It was the beginning of a life worth celebrating. And that's the end of our first story, and you can see that we can find joy even when we think we're in our darkest places. And a lot of times it's meeting a stranger in a chance encounter that can really change the course and trajectory of how we decide to live our lives. Now, our second story is called The Stranger's Gift, and it's a tale of Christmas renewal. It was a gray December morning in the small town of Snowbrook, and the Emerson's family house was unusually quiet for the holiday season. The cheerful glow of Christmas lights on their street stood in stark contrast to the darkness that seemed to hang over their home. Inside, the family of four sat in the living room, each lost in their own thoughts. Robert Emerson, a 68-year-old retired firefighter, sat slumped in an armchair. Diagnosed with Parkinson's 3 years ago, his once lively demeanor had faded into apathy. His wife Linda tried tirelessly to keep his spirits up while juggling her own exhaustion from caring for him. Their two adult children, Megan and Josh, had returned home for the holidays, but the tension in the air made it hard to feel festive. "I don't see the point in decorating the tree," Robert mumbled, as Megan unpacked the ornaments. "You used to love this," Megan said, her voice tinged with frustration. Josh chimed in, "Dad, we want to spend time with you, but you got to meet us halfway." Robert just shook his head. "I can't. I'm tired." Linda sighed, wiping away a tear. She hated seeing her once strong husband give up. The family had grown distant, not out of lack of love, but from the strain of seeing him withdraw in the burden of his care. A chance encounter. That afternoon, while running errands, Linda stopped at a small cafe for a much-needed break. As she stirred her coffee, she overheard a man at the next table chatting with the barista. "It's not about what you can't do. It's about finding out what you can do," he said. Intrigued, Linda turned to see an older gentleman with a warm smile and a slight tremor in his hand. Summoning her courage, she approached him. "Excuse me, I couldn't help it over here. My husband has Parkinson's. It feels like we're losing him." The man introduced himself as Walter, a retired teacher and a Parkinson's advocate. He listened as Linda poured out her heart, sharing how Robert had given up on himself and how it was affecting the entire family. Walter nodded thoughtfully. "I've been there. When I was diagnosed, I thought life was over. But then someone told me, Parkinson's doesn't define you. You define how to live with it. And that changed everything for me." He handed Linda a flyer for a local Parkinson's support group and shared his phone number. "Bring Robert to our next meeting," Walter said. "Sometimes hearing from someone who's been in his shoes can make all the difference." The turning point. It took some convincing, but a week later, Linda and the kids managed to get Robert to the support group. At first, he sat silently in the corner, arms crossed. But as the members shared their stories of struggle and triumph, Robert's defenses began to soften. Walter approached him during a break. "Robert, I used to think my life was over too, but I realized my family needed me, not as a burden, but as a partner in this journey. It's not easy, but you can choose to fight." And for the first time in months, Robert felt a spark of hope. He didn't want his family to remember him as a shadow of the man he once was. He decided to attend more meetings, start physical therapy, and even participate in an art class provided by the group. A new beginning. By Christmas Eve, the Emerson household had undergone a transformation. Robert, with newfound determination, helped Josh hang the lights and even joined Megan in baking cookies, a task that once seemed impossible. As the family sat around the tree, sharing stories and laughter, Linda marveled at the change in her husband. He wasn't just surviving, he was beginning to live again. That evening, as they enjoyed a quiet moment together, Robert turned to his family. "I'm sorry I let Parkinson's take so much from us. I promise I'll keep trying. For all of you, and for me." Megan hugged him tightly. "That's the best Christmas gift we could ask for, Dad." So the moral of this story is that the Emersons learned that Parkinson's is a family journey. It's not an individual battle. It takes courage, patience, and support to face its challenges. But even then, the smallest spark of hope can light the way forward. So no matter how hard life gets, the choice to fight for joy and connection can transform not only your life, but also the lives of those who love you. And sometimes it takes a stranger to remind us of the power of hope and the gift of never giving up. So I hope you've enjoyed these two Christmas stories. And as we get through the Christmas holiday and look forward to the new year of 2025, I hope that you'll see that you can live a great quality of life with Parkinson's, and you can share it with family and friends, and also be an advocate to help others. So I hope you can take what these stories have shared and live your best life with Parkinson's. And I hope you have a great and happy holiday and a spectacular new year. And hope you all stay safe, stay healthy, and live your best life with Parkinson's. Thanks again for listening, and I hope to see you all soon.